Hello everyone, Literal Smith here. We're going to be doing a Daniel Larson Wiki reading today. It's going to be a short one, and it's going to be of the Caretaker call. I think this is another new one. I'm actually going to play the audio after this video, so it's going to be at the end of it because this is going to be a short video. So, the Caretaker call was a phone call conversation that took place on July 27th, 2023, between one of the Daniel's former caretakers and the Daniel Larson creator, whom he had stayed with from fall of 2019 until being kicked out in the spring of 2020 after receiving a few comments from someone who claimed to be Daniel's old care providers. The curator set up a call between the two to discuss what caring and living with Daniel was like. Now, it seemed pretty terrible. The call contained details such as Daniel's behaviour around the house and more information about the elusive Ryan, who was thought to be one of Daniel's delusions up until that point. The caretaker's opinions on the widely popular take that the system had failed Daniel, and how he had allegedly almost sexually assaulted their physically disabled cat. Fucking hell. So he is an animal abuser, like that's just fact now. The person who claimed to be Daniel's caretaker has yet to be identified, as no name or identifying information about him can be found at this point in time. What should also be noted is that this person could be a potential troll or someone merely pretending to be one of his caretakers. That is true. I mean, this could be like someone pretending. You never know. So take any of these statements made by them with a grain of salt until further confirmation is available. Here we got the summary of it and the transcript, and that was it. This was updated at the end of last month. So let's have a read of the summary. The caretaker, or the caregiver, wasn't aware of Daniel's popularity until the night prior when he stumbled upon his TikTok videos. According to the caregiver, Daniel moved into his house in the fall of 2019 and got kicked out in the spring of 2020. The caregiver was told that Daniel doesn't do well with females and that a male provider would be so much better for him. That's the thing, because he's a bit of a sex pest. That's the thing. That's why women shouldn't be near him. The caregiver claims that all hell breaks loose merely 2 months after Daniel moved in. He says that if a patient is an adult and their own guardian, they legally can't do anything about the patient refusing medication, therapy or employment. The caregiver, actually, you know what, this is going to take me ages to read. All this is basically a summary anyway. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be splicing this together, and after this video it'll go to the audio, so I'm going to be adding the audio in, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know what you think of this in the comments. And now for the audio.
Daniel, he moved in fall of 2019 and he was kicked out spring of 2020. I didn't even know that he was like TikTok quote unquote famous until last night. I saw like a random TikTok reel with him in it and I was like, what the hell? He came to my house because, from what I understand, the last host home kicked him out because of just mass amounts of property damage. just like headbutting the walls, kicking the walls. I was told that he just doesn't do well with females, and that with a male provider, he would be much better. I probably had about a good month and a half, 2 months, and then just hell broke loose. He said the first couple months, we call that a grace period, when they kind of get settled in. They're like excited to stay with the new family or whatever. But yeah, I mean, it was absolutely terrible. Kind of just putting a background first here before we get into the good shit. So what else? Also, it's considered person-centered services. It's different when they're an adult. You do not have the ability to like take their human rights away. So if he does not want to take meds, he doesn't have to take them. If he's his own guardian, which he was. If he wants therapy, he has the right to have it. He can refuse. Employment, he can refuse. It's difficult. So like when you're working with an individual like Daniel, who kind of has this delusional mindset of that, you know, he's going to be famous, all these people love him, he's a movie star, a singer. He's more focused on that and just throws away all of the opportunities that are presented to him to help his mental health. And Bob, he enabled that. Yeah, he came over to the house multiple times. Honestly, like, as a person, Bob's great. At least when I worked with him. He's very pleasant. I mean, obviously, he cared about Daniel's safety. But he had absolutely no idea how to work with someone with a disability. I'm still trying to get, like I said, I just discovered this last night, so I'm still kind of watching all the videos and the documentaries and updates on Daniel, which has been extremely interesting to see. I mean, yeah, like in the home, I advocated for him to get SMB therapy, which is therapy for individuals who engage in like grooming potential like pedophiles or people that have like really bad sexual boundaries. I can tell you, just with living with me, he was trying to groom all of my other individuals who were much less functioning than him. He kept trying. Grooming is just grooming is like you know, manipulating them into like favors, like giving them things to get things in return. He was doing that a lot, like sexually grooming people, bribing them. So I was able to get cameras installed in the home, which is a very, very difficult restriction to get through the state. But because of Daniel's behaviors, I was able to get it through. I also saw there was an incident with like a toothbrush. That honestly doesn't surprise me. So when he got kicked out of my house, he basically was arrested at my house for assaulting his roommate. I had to like restrain him and hold him down on my front porch until police got there because he kept trying to bite me. Yeah, I have like a massive scar on my left forearm from him. But as far as like the toothbrush thing goes, when I had to clean his room out, I had found one of my used drumsticks that was all splintered, and it was covered in shit. There were multiple phone cords that were also covered in shit. He had a Barbie doll that was covered in shit. So he's a very sexualized individual. I've taken care of so many individuals, like physically aggressive individuals, extremely like emotionally damaged individuals, low functioning, high functioning. They all, to some extent, have some motivation to like do better for themselves. Daniel was the only one that didn't. Like everyone was a liar. Everyone was against him. I know him very well. Do you know? So Ryan lives with me still. Yes, I've had Ryan from the start. Ryan has some similar sexual behaviors to Daniel, but Ryan isn't quite as high functioning, and he doesn't understand his actions as much. Typically Ryan will groom people, but Daniel kind of being more alpha in the sense that he has a little, his IQ is a bit higher, Daniel would groom him instead. And yeah, that was one of the individuals that I was talking about earlier, that he kept grooming in the household. There were multiple times where I would wake up in the middle of the night because my cameras would go off, and Daniel would try to sneak into Ryan's room. Yeah, it went back and forth, but with no doubt in my mind, Daniel kind of controlled that situation. Yeah. He always used the term his fans, like, oh, my fans need to know what I'm doing, or my fans are waiting for me. That's why he refused to go into day programs. They're kind of like a day rehabilitation center. He didn't want to engage in any of that because he was too devoted to, his fans. He did smell absolutely terrible. He would never shower, ever. And when he lived with me, he was really big into running. He would run miles a day. He used to do 5K races and other stuff like that. He would run 10 miles and then just refuse to take a shower, and all I could smell was just sweat throughout my house. Yeah, I think when he lived with me, he maybe have taken 3 or 4 showers, and that was over the course of, like I said, maybe 8 months. We are certified. It's called NVCI, Nonviolent Crisis Intervention. Basically, we can go hands-on with an individual, if they need to be restrained. Some agencies, they're hands-off. I don't know how that would ever work with Daniel. But there were some weeks where I was restraining him multiple times a day, and I had restrained him because he was hurting himself. He would bash his head in the wall so much. Yeah, just bleeding from his face. One time I had to take him to the hospital. He was doing it so hard, he literally started bleeding from one of his eyelids. I try not to call the cops in my home. Some providers, they basically have 911 on speed dial. I only call when it's truly out of my control. I think I only called the cops on him twice. Most of the time, it truly was for example, he was obsessed with mac and cheese. If we no longer had mac and cheese and I had to make him something else, he would become extremely escalated and just start picking over and over and over again, holes in all the walls. That's kind of the farthest extent it came. Sometimes he'd be mad at me, again, for any, the most pointless things. It's anything that's just an inconvenience to him, he would get frustrated. Every day just looked like he would get frustrated. I'd have to restrain him. Then he'd get pissed and, basically run away for a couple hours, go for a run, come back, then he'd spend the night in his room. Then the next day we wake up and everything seemed like, he'd act like nothing happened. And then later that night it happened again. I guess one time he went ballistic, hit his head in the wall. He took one of my kitchen chairs, threw it across the room at another roommate, as I was trying to grab him to kind of just protect myself and everyone else around him and himself. I remember he tried grabbing one of the kitchen knives. And that was pretty scary. I had to hold him on the ground because he kept saying that he was going to kill me. And then shortly after that, then he had a sharps restriction. So I was not allowed to have any I couldn't have knives, I couldn't even have forks out in the open. Everything had to be locked in my house. I guess I just kind of want to silence all the people out there. It's you shouldn't judge him. Our system's so broken. We need to help these people. It's there's issues in the system, but Colorado specifically has, I would say it's the leading state as far as taking care of individuals with disabilities. The services that are offered in Colorado are far better than any other state.
Yeah, so to like, for some of these people saying like the system failed him, that's no. And it's very, like, I've worked with so many individuals. It's so hard to get to the point where Daniel is. I mean, actually, one big incident, I've said quite a bit about him already. I don't know if I said this. The biggest incident I had with him that really emotionally, like, just enraged me. I have a 3-legged cat. At the time, it was maybe 2 years old when Daniel was there. He tried having sex with my cat. Yeah, his roommate reported to me. Yeah, so, his roommate walked in his room. Yeah, and luckily the roommate loves my cat and, like, actually takes care of him. So when he saw that, he freaked out, ran in my room, got me. I went in there. Daniel was, like, putting on his clothes, and, like, the cat was there. So, like, I mean, I didn't see it happen, but I would have no reason. His roommate would have no reason to make that type of allegation, being as how the cat was in his room, which it shouldn't have been, being as how he was putting clothes on. I mean, I would have to assume it was, you know, that's what happened. Yeah, like, at my house, the rule was I didn't want my cat in either of their rooms.